Hey listeners, welcome to another episode of Legal Matters brought to you by Studio77. I am your favorite host, Ajayi Peace Esther. You can also call me Peamat Voice. So today on Legal Matters, we'll be bringing 4 interesting legal cases for we to discuss on to educate us more on our rights. Yes, if this is your first time of listening and watching Legal Matters is a platform where we get to educate people, create awareness about their rights, what their rights are and what they're not, and what actions or inactions shouldn't be done against you. Let's dive in and let's see what our rights are really are. So I would like to ask you this question, and this first case I would tell you as the landlord versus the premises tenant. You get to know why. The first question is, what do you think when you've not paid your rent? Do you have the right to stay on a long-term basis? Like, does your landlord have the right to really send you out? Does he? Before you answer that question, let's take the first case. In Abuja, a pharmacist named Mr. Kelechi Osuji rented the property but stopped paying rent from 2015 onwards. Despite repeated requests from his landlord, Mr. O. Ifedako, he refused to pay rent or vacate the property. What do you think about that? First, he owes the man rent, he owes his landlord the rent. 2, he is not ready to leave, he doesn't want to leave. The fact that the landlord sued him to court, this case got to the court. So that shows how extreme this whole situation is, and it brings us to the fact that people have this entitlement mentality. But before we talk too much, let's see what the court has to say about this. The Federal High Court ordered Mr. Osuji to pay the unpaid rent of 900,000 naira. 900,000 naira, covering rent from November 2015 to November 2016 at 75,000 naira monthly to vacate the premises. The court held that the tenant cannot ignore the rent obligations and stay without the landlord's consent. That was what the federal court has to say, and I think it is fair enough for him to pay, if not anything, pay what you owe. If you've rented an apartment, of course, if you have an agreement, there's a contract. Respect the agreement, respect the contract for the landlord to take him to court. He's not ready to vacate the house, and the court told him to pay the unpaid rent of 900,000 naira, which of course he has no choice than to pay, and that's covered the rent from November 2015 to November 2016 at 75,000 naira monthly, and to vacate the premises. So please, dear citizens, if you have a contract, if you signed a contract, do well to keep up to it. Moving on to case number 2. So here we see 2 parties who initially agreed to settle their dispute if there will be anyone at any case outside court, outside content, but we see that one went outside this agreement and took the case to court. So let's see who these 2 parties are. PE Bitumen Resources and Caution Nigeria Integrated entered a contract containing an arbitration clause, meaning that they agreed to resolve any dispute privately through arbitration, not in court. However, Caution Nigeria ignored this and filed multiple lawsuits in court against PE Bitumen. So the initial agreement was not to settle anything in the court, not to settle anything in content, but Caution Nigeria ignored this, and filed multiple lawsuits in court against PE Bitumen. Well, let's see what the court has to say about this. The Lagos High Court issued an anti-suit injunction stopping Caution Nigeria from pursuing court cases and enforcing the arbitration agreement. The court made clear that parties must honor dispute resolution clauses that they agreed to. So, Probably Kosher Nigeria was expecting something else, but the court ensured that the law was being enforced. So we saw that the court supported Bitumen, or rather, it said the court said the parties must honor dispute resolution clauses which they agreed to. That's the arbitration clause. And what does this have to say to us? Pay attention to dispute resolution clauses. If arbitration is agreed upon, you must follow it. Just like the first case, always respect the contract, always respect the agreement. Courts respect and enforce this agreement to promote quicker, less expensive resolutions. Ignoring arbitration can lead to your case being dismissed in court. So, now you know. Moving on to the third case, which is the fake death certificate and estate fraud. Here we see June Ashimola, who faced an alarming situation when someone forged a death certificate declaring her dead while she was very much alive. Using the fake certificate, fraudsters tried to take control of her estate and property through a power of attorney. That's so unacceptable. That's outrageous. Because how would you say you went to fake a person's death certificate and she's still very much alive? And you know, this is just extreme, because people do this a lot, especially on celebrities, and they say she's dead, is dead, and the person is very much alive. But these fraudsters went so extreme, and they had an attorney. Okay, all right. Let's see what the court has to say about this. I have so many things to say, but let's see what the court has to say about this. First, the High Court found the death certificate and related document to be forged and fraudulent. It revoked any powers granted based on these forged documents and confirmed June Ashimola's legal ownership and right over a property. So what does this mean for you? It's the fact that your identity and your property is protected by the law. If anyone attempts fraud, anyone attempts to threaten you, don't see it as little. Never. Don't be intimidated, don't be threatened. Your identity and your properties is protected by the law. Moving on to the last legal case for today, and that is the children being arrested for protesting. In Niger State, 29 children, some as young as 12, were arrested during protests over Nigeria's rising cost of living. They were detained for 90 days and faced serious charges, including potential capital punishment, which has caused widespread concern. Okay, these children were concerned and they went to protest, but they were detained for 90 days. Some were as young as 12 years old. Let's see what the court has to say about this. The court granted the children bail, but under very strict conditions. This case has raised public and legal debate about the treatment of minors in the justice system, particularly regarding their right to peaceful protest and protection from harsh penalties. So if this protest was harsh in any case, I think they could have, yes, corrected the children and detaining them for 90 days. I really want to know how they were detained, how these 12 years old kids were actually detained. So they were detained for 90 days. Children have special rights under Nigerian law, including protection from cruel or unusual punishment and the right to express themselves peacefully. If minors are arrested, they should be treated fairly and humanely. That's the point. If by any chance they come to protest, I think the reason behind this protest should be acknowledged. They should. Why are you protesting? Why did it get up to this point? The next thing is not detaining them for 90 days. Children have special rights under Nigerian law, and yes, if they want to be detained, it should be treated fairly and humanely. and it is important for parents and communities to be aware of children's rights and advocate for their protection. And so, with these 4 interesting, educative, and important legal cases, we hope we've been able to shed more light on legal matters around you and to also make you aware of what your rights are and what they're not, and of course, what actions and inactions shouldn't be done against you. And now we've come to the end of today's episode on Legal Matters, brought to you by Studio77. I am your favorite host, Ajayi This Esther. You can also call me Peamat Voice. Do well to like, share, and follow us on all platforms Studio77. See you next time. Bye.